Hi, all. I'm excited to have you here for the seminar on hair tissue mineral analysis. And if we haven't met before, my name is Corey Orth, and I'm a coach who guides people to restoring their bodies to true health by bringing them back into balance. I get to teach my clients how to go back to the foundations of health and how to also identify the limiting thought beliefs that are often getting them stuck. I equip and empower them to walk into a life that they love. And today, I hope that I can equip and empower you with some knowledge for your healing journey. So, what I want to do is take a little bit of time and just share about my background, how I got to be doing the work that I'm doing. We'll take a look and see, all right, what is a body in homeostasis and what does that mean? And then we'll dive in and talk a little bit about traditional blood work and why it doesn't always give us the answers that we hope for or that we really need when we aren't feeling well. I'm going to dive in deep and talk about hair tissue mineral analysis, what it is, what it looks at, and what you can actually do with the results and how you can use those results to bring your body back into balance. And then we'll take time to talk about how to collect the sample and what to expect once we get those results back. Anytime I do any kind of learning seminar like this, I always just like to give the disclaimer that the information I share here is not specific medical advice for you or individualized recommendations. It's simply me just sharing knowledge and protocols that I've learned throughout my multiple different health certifications and the experience that I've had working with clients that I serve. So, any specific questions you have, I always encourage you to reach out to a health provider that you are working with, and if you are in need of someone who might be able to help you with more of a holistic focus, I'm happy to chat with you to see if it might be a good fit. So, to share a little bit about me, I am a wife and I'm a mama, and I'm so passionate about helping people to heal their bodies because I truly want people to experience life to the full, just as Jesus promised. My background is in conventional medicine. I did the traditional 4-year nursing program and then spent over a decade working in the hospital setting at the bedside and then also in a community nursing role. In addition, I also worked in higher education, teaching nursing students in the classroom and also in the hospital setting as they were doing their clinicals. It was around 2020 that I started to navigate my own health issues and was just in a role doing nursing care that I really had a hard time believing that the solution I was giving patients was the only answer that they had to help their bodies heal. So that sent me on my own health journey and really diving into this more integrative approach to health. And I became certified as an integrative health practitioner and learned multiple modalities in the holistic wellness space. So that was things like Ayurvedic medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, bioregulatory, naturopathy medicine, and then also using functional lab testing. In addition, I have been trained as a certified life coach looking at the methods of cognitive behavioral therapy. And I have learned over the past few years that while there are many really good qualified root cause practitioners out there, few of them are combining the thought mindset piece to the integrative health work. And I found that there is such a powerful impact it has when we truly combined what's happening in our mind with the physical in our body. So, let's talk about health, disease, symptoms. If you've been to any of my previous seminars before, you've heard me speak about symptoms of illness and disease. You know, the symptoms are things like the brain fog that we get, where we're just tired all the time or we can't think clearly. It's the gut issues that pop up, having like this bloated and distended abdomen or being constipated like all the time. It's the hair falling out or the irregular menstrual cycles, whether, you're having a cycle every 20 days or every 50 days, or you're just having really painful cycles. Those are the symptoms that are happening in our body. And our body is meant to be in homeostasis or in balance. So I love this image on the screen of the rocks being in balance. And it's a great reminder this is what our body's meant to be. And when our body is not in balance, it's when we start to get all those symptoms. It's when things start to feel like they're falling apart. Those rocks are falling down and we have the hair issues or we have the period issues. So, our health symptoms and disease come from two things. It's either going to be from toxicities or deficiencies that are present in our body. And most times, it's going to be a mix of both. So we experience good health and minimum symptoms when our body is in balance. That looks like having minimum toxins in our body or having mineral levels that are in range. So in previous seminars, I've definitely taken time and I've gone in deep on toxicities. So if that's something new to you, I definitely encourage you to go back and check that out. Today, I want to spend more time focusing on minerals and what minerals are and how deficiencies can often lead to symptoms that we start to experience in our body. A good question to ask is, all right, then, so what are minerals? And minerals are substances that are key to activating different enzyme pathways in your body for to drive your metabolism. So think of it to be like the keys that start your car. If you don't have minerals in an appropriate range, your car isn't going to start, the engine isn't going to be running. And that's what we're going to take time to talk about today. So, where do these mineral imbalances come from? And it can be a number of things. It can be something like inherited patterns. In utero, our mineral pattern begins to form, and we take on the deficiencies or the excesses that our moms are often carrying. It can come from diet. So, the things like having a highly processed or refined foods diet, if you're following a fad diet that's happening, alcohol is another big one, etc. All these things can lead to inadequate intake of key minerals that we need to help our body start going. Even healthy foods, that salad or those vegetables you're eating can be nutrient deficient just because of the soils that they're grown in. Like things are becoming more and more nutrient deficient because our soils just don't have the nutrients that they need in them. It can come to things like stress, that we have this mineral imbalance, that stress actually depletes our bodies of the key minerals, or it keeps our bodies from absorbing them. Medications are another big one that people often don't think about. So, birth control is a big factor. That's a big offender, that it will completely impact your body's ability to utilize minerals. Other things, medications can give toxins to our bodies. It's things like diuretics or antacids or aspirins, environmental sources too, like pollution or things that you're using like hair dye, antiperspirants that have aluminum, or dental fillings that have mercury or cadmium in them. All these are toxins in our body and impact how minerals are regulated in our body and how they're working. And the last is nutritional supplementation. So many times people would be like, "Oh, like I heard that vitamin D could be helpful to me since I live in the way north where we don't get much sun." But oftentimes too much of a vitamin and supplementing with it can actually negate the benefits. For example, that vitamin D can actually cause deficiency in magnesium. So these are different pieces of the puzzle where we can start to get that mineral imbalance from. All right, so here is the big question that often comes up. I have people who come to me. I was that person who wasn't feeling well and went to my doctor and got lab work, and just holding on to the hope and belief. It's like, okay, like I'm not feeling good. I'm going to have this lab work and I'm going to get some answers to why I don't feel good. And yet I had the blood work drawn. I get the phone call back and says, hey, everything looks normal. So why is that? What's going on? And here's what's happening is that blood that's taken is a snapshot in time. So think about it. They stick the needle in your arm, they take the blood sample, and that's what's happening at that moment in time. Again, our bodies are smart. They're wonderfully made. They are meant to be in balance. So that blood is always looking at maintaining balance. It's going to take what it has too much of, and it's going to push that into the tissues. And it's going to take what it does not have enough of, and it's going to pull it from the tissues into the blood to maintain that balance. So, just for an example, I worked in the ER for years, and it is incredibly rare to see someone who has abnormal blood work. Unless that person is critically ill and circling the drain, like we used to say, you just aren't going to get abnormal values to the key minerals in your blood, because your body is smart and it's doing its best to maintain that balance. Um, so, hair tissue mineral analysis, what is it? It's taking a sample of hair, that tissue, and it's using that tissue to give a better idea of what's happening in the body. So this uses that tissue to look at about a 3-month period of time of what have your minerals been doing over that 3-month period of time, instead of that snapshot of time that is like traditional blood work that's often drawn. And this hair tissue test has been utilized over 30 years, mostly by nutritionists and dietitians, but more recently it's becoming more common practice with integrative practitioners like myself. So I love this hair tissue testing because it gives us a unique view into what's happening in the body's unique metabolic world and the intercellular activity that's taking place every day that you just aren't going to see on other tests. So this is the blueprint that can really help us understand to what's happening in your body and why you don't often feel well. This is also not only going to give us information to what's happening with minerals in the body, but it also helps us to identify toxic minerals and toxic metals that can be building up in the body. This hair tissue mineral analysis test is actually the testing of choice by the EPA that helps identify toxic metal exposure. So this is one of the best tools out there to help give us insight to what's happening in those mineral patterns throughout the body. And I love this quote by researcher Dr. Henry Schroeder, who found that minerals are more important factors in human nutrition than vitamins. The body can manufacture many vitamins, but it cannot produce necessary trace minerals or get rid of many possible excesses. So, again, this goes back to the fact that minerals are the key that start all the different processes in the body. If they're out of balance, you're going to feel it and you're going to start to manifest these symptoms. So, a great question is, all right, what does this hair tissue test look at? And first and foremost, it is going to look at the metabolic type. This is your body's unique blueprint to how it's running, how it's responding to stress. Are you a fast oxidizer or a slow oxidizers? And then there's actually subtypes within those different oxidizer patterns, whether slow or fast. And while most people are like, oh, I want to be a fast metabolizer, the key really is balance, because those who are too fast are going to have just as many problems as those who are too slow. And, it's the idea of what's going too fast is they're burning through too many things too fast. Or if they're slow, things are just getting clogged up. So this test will give us an idea of, okay, where are the mineral levels at in the body? And the tricky part with this test is you can't read it at face value. It's good to have that overlying, okay, our magnesium's here or our potassium's here at this level. But really, what moves into the second part of what this test is showing us is ratios. And we want to have an idea of where those ratios are, because this is giving us a better idea of what's really happening in the body and the different symptoms in the body. So the last part that it looks at is toxic elements. So those metals that I'd mentioned earlier. Do we have a buildup of aluminum or mercury happening in our body? And, once we know that, we can start to take action from it. Overall, minerals are a balancing act. Again, comes back to balance, to homeostasis. The relationship is always going to be more important than that face value. So you want to look at that. And all right, so what do these ratios show? And this is what I love. I love this slide because it gives you a good idea. Okay, so we have these different ratios that come back on the hair tissue mineral analysis, and they each give us a good clue to different parts of what's happening in the body. So that calcium phosphorus ratio is going to show us the automatic stress state of the body. So this is, are we more parasympathetic dominant or sympathetic dominant in the body? And this is going to be closely related to how your adrenal glands are functioning, how your thyroid gland is functioning. And we're going to fluctuate. We'll tend to be more genetically dominant towards one to the other. But again, our goal is going to be balance. We're going to look at that sodium potassium ratio. This is going to be the stress ratio in the body, or the vitality ratio. So this really gives a good indicator of what's happening with the adrenal hormones in the body. Adrenals think stress. How's your stress level doing? How's your body responding to stress? You can see the other ones, calcium, potassium, that gives really good insight to the thyroid, zinc, copper, hormone. This is a big one for those who are navigating, menstrual irregularities, looking at these hormones in play and how minerals are impacting them. The adrenal ratio, blood sugar ratio. Blood sugar is a key one to take a look at. And this gives us a good picture over time. How's your body managing blood sugar? And then things like the iron copper ratio. This will give us a good idea for what's happening. How's your body handling infections? Is it more geared toward viral infections or bacterial infections? And just having that information to move forward. When it comes to collecting, just a few key tips that I like to share with my clients. If you have recently dyed your hair, you want to wait about at least 3 weeks before you take a sample. Ideally, 8 is better. You want hair to be free of dyes, if possible, bleach and other hair products. Things like Head and Shoulder shampoo or any other anti-dandruff shampoos, you really want to stop use for that for at least 2 weeks before, and then you just want to note that you have used it in the past on that lab collection slip. You want to avoid use of public pools or chlorinated pools for about 1 week prior to collection. And then I know many people will often have like water softeners in their house, or they'll have hard water, and this can also impact the mineral levels and how they read on your test. So if possible, just you want to wash your hair for about 2 to 3 weeks prior, using distilled water to kind of rinse any of that, hard water, softened water build up off your hair that can be happening to get the best accurate result that we can. When you go to collect your sample, you want to wait at least about 6 hours after you have washed your hair. You want to take scalp hair. That's going to be the preferred site whenever possible. But again, we're going to do the best that we can. So if you need to use beard hair, pubic hair, that can be used. Sometimes it'll just skew the results slightly. So it's just want to know that before we go in and start to interpret the results coming back. You want to take hair from about 3 to 4 different locations at the base of the scalp. So you want to go to the very back of your head, just above your neck, and collect from about 3 to 4 places there. And you want to have that hair cut to the scalp as close as possible, because that's going to give us the best indicator of what's most recently happening in your body. So once you collect those samples from those 3 to 4 locations, you want to cut it off and leave about 1.5 inches, the hair closest to the scalp, and take about 1.5 inches, and then the rest can be discarded. And there's going to be a little paper scale that comes in your sample envelope. So you're going to put the hair on the scale, and as it starts to tilt, it will give you an indication when you have enough hair. Once you get all that hair, you're going to put it in the envelope, fill out the lab form, and then send it into the lab. It usually takes about 3 to 6 weeks, just depending, for your results to come back on the volume that's happening in the lab. All right, this is the biggest thing that I like to talk to clients about. Oftentimes I have people coming to me not feeling well, excited that this is going to give me answers that I haven't had before. I'm finally going to have that reason, but what's happening in my body? And I want to let you know, first and foremost, that this is not the end all be all test. It's simply a piece of the puzzle. Healing is a journey, and to believe that there's one silver bullet out there that is going to give you the answers that you need is going to leave you frustrated and discouraged. But this test is going to provide a blueprint for what's happening in your body. It's going to give us answers that you may not have had before about why you feel fatigued all the time, or why you feel tired but wired at the same time, or why you have those awful menstrual symptoms. So it's going to give us answers and clues to what's happening in your body. And most importantly, it's going to serve as a guide of how to know to recognize the imbalances happening in your body, and then how to go and to address them and best support your body to bring it back into balance. Because your body was created to heal. It just has to have the right environment to do that. So I hope that this workshop was helpful to you, that it gave you some new insights that you may not have had before when it comes to health and wellness. If you'd like to learn more about me and the work that I do, my information is on the screen. Please feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to talk with others to see if I can be a part of your healing journey. So thanks for checking this out, and I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below.